floating free in the water.
In the excitement of the beach start, the guys pushed the boat backwards, but the rudder was already down in the sand. So as the boat went backwards, it snapped the rudder clean off the boat. So they're going to go home now with just one rudder. And because we've been stayed to help, we've got a bit of catching up to do.
Little white-capped wavelets on the water meant that the wind was strong and the yachts flew along, passing the moored ship outside Zanzibar harbour. The non-Spinnaker fleet recorded speeds of up to 19.6 knots, and the Spinnaker cats would of course have been faster. By now everyone was getting a little wary and errors crept into the sailing. The occasional capsize, this one by John and Andrea Ryle, attested to this. Still, it was mostly a real pleasure out there as the wind whipped the boats along. At the end, calm settled over the sea and the wary sailors opted for a drink or two before sitting down and making their plans for the next day's competition. The TANZACAT Zanzibar raid was now halfway done. The crews had raced via a consolidation point to Mtoni Marine and then done a second leg out to Mwamba Nyangi and back. All in all, more than 58 nautical miles had been covered in all sorts of wind conditions. It had been quite a challenge. Ahead lay two more legs, the first via Mwamba Chumbi and Ariadne Bankgate to Lazy Lagoon, followed by a southeasterly run past Fungu Basin checkpoint back to Dar Yacht Club. In total, more than 55 nautical miles lay ahead. The sailing had taken its toll, and people were both tired and injured, with running repairs needed for hands and fingers, not to mention for the yachts themselves. And Rian Fulshank were well placed in the Spinnaker fleet and had spent time strategizing how best to approach the remaining two legs.
Our strategy is hoping that we get away quite early. We seem to be doing better in the lighter stuff, or easier to get in front of the fleet in the lighter stuff than in the heavy. So, and also it should be a beat or just off a reach to the other side. So we're hoping we can get going quickly and utilize the light wind to establish a lead, and from there we'll take it, see what we can do.
We actually rolled over on the first leg. We were lucky, we got back up and we hopped back into the lead again, so we were really happy with that. Like this morning will be lighter wind, so we just try to hop in front, and hopefully we'll be in front by the straight, because I think everyone will be the same speed after that. It's a reach right across, and it's hard to go. You're sort of much faster than other boats when it's a reach.
It's been very tiring though so far. It's been averaging 35-mile days sailing, which really takes it out of you.
After we came across on the first day, I must have picked up some heat exhaustion, and then body was down. And I've been living in sort of malaria area for 7 years, never had malaria, and I've just got the tests now. All the symptoms are there that it's malaria, and sad to say this is the end of our race.
Day 3 today, we're sailing south. What we're doing today is we're going to change the course a little bit today. We had a checkpoint on the mainland coast of Zanzibar. Because the wind has come westerly, we're actually going to go south of Chumbi Island, which is the main lighthouse, into the southern part of the port of Zanzibar. And then we're going to cross around Ariadne Bank and hopefully reach back across the channel again to Bagamoyo.
Covering an area of nearly 2,500 square kilometres, Zanzibar is a low-lying island, 108 kilometres long and 32 kilometres wide. It is located 40 kilometres from the Tanzanian mainland coast and is just 6 degrees south of the equator. Zanzibar has beautiful sandy beaches with fringing coral reefs, rich in marine diversity. In a way, the crews felt a little sad at this point as they left the island for the last time, their destination today being Lazy Lagoon on the mainland. As usual, the Hobie 16s milled around in the bay prior to the start of the race. The water was choppy with a reasonable breeze blowing. The top team of Erin Worrell and Sarah Pipes needed to get the best possible start in order to consolidate their lead. The chasing teams, including the Al Wahidi and Al Rushdie entries, were just a few minutes off the pace and eager to capitalize on any mistakes by the event leaders. Once the non-Spinnaker fleet was on its way, the Hobie Tigers moved into the start area. The Dodds team were leading from the Koppel-Fulshank team with just minutes separating the two yachts. Every sailor's nightmare is to lose a mast, Not only does it cripple the yacht, but repairs are costly and take time. A Hobie 16 named Aurora, skippered by Sarah Scott, had gear failure and the shroud wire shackle broke just after the start. But the rescue men did an excellent job and got them repaired and going again.
The rest of the fleet flew off the start line in great sailing conditions. The route today was a long reach across the bay towards the mainland, and the crews were impatient to clear the leeward side of the island and get out into the open water, where the hefty southeaster would push them along at a good speed. In time, the ancient stone buildings and crystalline coral beaches of the city receded, and they were surrounded by the blue of the sea and sky. Mark and Sarah Aubry looked relaxed in the conditions, while Mike and Louise Goodyear on microtronics gave our camera crew a thumbs up as they passed. Soon the big Hobie Tigers were into their stride, affording crews the exhilaration that only open sea racing can give. The day was turning out to be a fantastic one. Paresh Patel and Matt Ulafir on Tiger were lying in the top 5 and hoping to pick up a place or two, while Fafa Duprier and Charles Girard were a couple of places further back in the competition. In between the yachts, normal commercial fishing activity was taking place, this boat looking a little overcrowded. At the rear of the fleet, David and Angela Scott on the Hobie 16 Inapa cruised along sedately. All the time, the officials were keeping an eye on proceedings using high-tech equipment on the monitoring boat. They even provided snacks for the crews when required. An apple for Klaus Müller and Jane Nicholson's mid-ocean lunch as they sat becalmed on a glassy ocean. As the Dolphins cruised by, Blaine and Peter Blaine Dodds resorted to paddling off the Ariadne bank.
What a tough day in paradise.
The fleet was suddenly becalmed. The good strong breeze had faded away to almost nothing, leaving the yachts flopping around in the water. Every last square metre of sail was hoisted in an effort to get some forward momentum, but not much helped. From a competitive point of view, though, everyone had the same problem. But things never stayed the same forever, and the little breeze finally got the yachts moving. It was more than 13 nautical miles from the Ariadne bank to the stage finish at Lazy Lagoon, but it seemed much longer as the yachts crawled along. John Goldsmith and Mark Nichols on their Hobie 16 were passed by a huge ferry en route from Dar es Salaam to Stone Town, while the Al Wabi team from Oman and Fafa Duprier's Wildcat did their best to hold their positions in the fleet. Vincent and Hans Zellmans were close by and also not enjoying the conditions much. The sea so flat you could even see a reflection of their blue sail in the water. Lazy Lagoon seemed a long way off for the fleet. Mark and Sarah Aubry on yacht number 99 cruised past, as did Caroline Hutchinson and Suzanne Morton, the all-woman crew from South Africa. Against the grey of the sky and water, these yachts cut a lovely, colourful picture of pink, orange and blue as they passed. Finally, there was a hint of wind action, and the bigger boats took full advantage with their superior sail. Hans van Ness and Wendy Bronkhorst on their smaller Hobie 16 went about in an effort to get a better angle into the wind. At last there was a decent wind, and the Al Wabi team started putting pressure on the others. At this stage they were second overall in the fleet, and were hoping to close down the leader at some stage. But the Australian team of Aaron Worrell and Sarah Pipes are doing their level best to hold on to the lead they'd built up during the first leg, and were not going to be caught easily. It was full steam ahead now, as the camera boat cruised along just in front of the racing catamarans. At last they reached Lazy Lagoon, and one by one the yachts were beached. It had been a mixed day with some wonderful sailing conditions interspersed with frustrating dead calm sections. It was almost sunset by the time they all arrived, and everyone's spirits were high as they helped each other to finish. Finally, the sun set over Lazy Lagoon after a competitive but fun-filled day's racing. Worrell and Pipes still led the non-spinnaker fleet by 10 minutes, while the Dodds family hung on to a slim 4-minute lead over the Goodyear boat in the spinnaker class.
It was a beautiful, clear day the next morning, the final day of racing in the 2010 TANZACAT regatta. The crews emerged from their huts on the Lazy Lagoon beach and set about preparing themselves and their boats for the final run back to Dar es Salaam. Skipper of boat 19, Paresh Patel, had some frustrating memories of previous TANZACAT competitions.
Lazy Lagoon's got a bit of a curse on me. About 4 years ago, I was about to win the race and I capsized 100 meters to go. This year, we were about to beat Al and we thought we'd capsize again with 100 meters to go. A very spectacular show. But overall, it's gone very well. We've had a very good TANZACAT. The initial TANZACAT in Dar es Salaam and the whole Zanzibar race. Today is the final day and hope there's a lot of bets going on. So I hope we do better.
Today, the wind is still westerly, so rather than set off early in the westerly, we're going to wait for the southeasterly to come around, which should come around about 11 o'clock. And then it's a straight race home today, past Fungiyasin, which is another sandbank north of Dar es Salaam, about 18 nautical miles to Fungiyasin, and then another 9 nautical miles past that final checkpoint to the Dar es Salaam Yacht Club.
Many thanks to Anthony Hughes, who explained all the routes to us. As usual, the spinnaker fleet set off first under cloudy skies and with the hope for southeaster finally arriving, giving the crews hope for a strong day's sailing. And they were out on the trapeze even before they had left the resort behind. The Al Rushdie team, lying third at this stage, were going brilliantly and racing hard against the Klaus Mueller Jane Nicholson boat, while the rest of the Hobie 16 fleet spread out on the water. Matthew Gray's boat was out of the top 10 rankings, but was still pushing hard. Back at Lazy Lagoon, the big guns, the Hobie Tigers, were all set for their start, and they soon caught the same breeze that was pushing the Hobie 16 fleet so quickly ahead of them. At this stage, it looked like it was going to be another fine day on the water. The Vincent and Hans Zillmann's yacht and Tina Edler's craft raced along together, taking full advantage of the strong wind. Zillmann and William Kaiser were not likely to end high up in the final rankings, but they were still giving it their all out there. Up front, the Worrell Pipes Hobie 16 were still leading the race and steadily putting distance between itself and its rivals. Although all these yachts are identical, the skill of the skipper and crew optimizing the conditions at every point ensures that there is a big difference in final finishing times. Nicholas Zervas and Jeff Denton were lying mid-fleet, while the Al Rushdie boat was doing far better in third place overall. There were 4 entries from the state of Oman, and the Al Wahabi yacht was now second, with its sister, the Al Rushdie boat, just 1 position worse off. John and Angela Ryle were in 7th spot, about 20 minutes off the leader's pace, while the third Oman boat, the Al Zajali entry, was in 10th place.
The next important point on the course was the Fungu Yasim checkpoint, 2/3 of the way through the final day's racing. The Hobie Tiger of Goldsmith and Nichols was now more than 30 minutes behind